The judge in Blake Lively's case just slapped down their psychopathic request.
And the court said no.
Breaking news, Justin Baldoni just got a big win, meaning Blake Lively got a big loss. Are her lawyers dumb? Is this truly a win for Justin and a loss for Blake?
Absolutely a win for Justin, and you're absolutely right, Andy, in your interpretation of the document. What they're said is basically, they told you to go, you have to go meet and confer and see if you can come up with more narrow requests.
There's a lot of this sort of like Blake complaining that they're evading the privacy, they're doing all this, but then meanwhile, right, she's on Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
Welcome to the channel. Before we dive into today's jaw-dropping scandal, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us and keeps you updated on the biggest stories shaking up Hollywood. Now, let's talk about a wild turn of events. Hollywood's golden girl, Blake Lively, is caught in the middle of a legal war that's got Tinseltown gasping. Lawsuits, shocking allegations, and a courtroom bombshell that nobody saw coming. It's all put her spotless reputation on the line.
Blake's case is falling apart. She's destroying her cred. Ryan Reynolds.
And trust me, this isn't just some minor controversy. This case could send shockwaves through the entire entertainment industry. And where does her husband, the ever-charming Ryan Reynolds, fit into this mess? Oh, he's right in the thick of it. That's right, this isn't just Blake's battle. So how did she even end up in this legal nightmare? And could the court's stunning decision derail her entire career? Buckle up, because we're about to break it all down.
I'm not asking anyone to not believe anyone. I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see, have them see the truth and determine the truth for themselves.
Now here's where things really get interesting. Justin B's powerhouse lawyer, Brian Friedman, wasn't bluffing when he said, all parties should lay their cards on the table. And guess what? The court just dropped a bombshell. Reports confirm that during the trial, a leaked audio recording was played, a recording that Blake and Ryan have allegedly been desperate to keep hidden. But why? What's in it? And could this be the final nail in the coffin for their case? The whole world is glued to this courtroom drama, and right now, it looks like Justin Bald might be holding all the aces. The stakes? Higher than ever. And the public? Oh, they can't get enough of this. Stay locked in, because this is just the beginning. On March 4th, 2025, the courtroom was buzzing as Blake Lively's legal team, led by the formidable Meryl G.S. Key, made a bold move. They pushed for a protective order to block the public release of certain key evidence. And what exactly were they trying to keep under wraps? Private communications between Lively and some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Their argument? That making these exchanges public could cause unnecessary damage to people who aren't even involved in the case, potentially triggering wild media speculation. But let's be real. This request instantly ignited a huge debate. Is Lively just trying to protect innocent parties? Or is she hiding something way bigger? And let's not forget, this case has already fueled rumors about her allegedly cutthroat behavior behind the scenes.
I see a bully a bully attacking somebody. The bully being Blake Lively and our powerful lawyers. And thank goodness Justin's got support to be able to fight back.
Now, on the opposing side, none other than Vallone's legal team, and they weren't having any of it. They flat out rejected Lively's motion, insisting that the existing protective order was more than enough. Their take? No one, not even Hollywood royalty, should get special treatment. They argued that keeping the case open to the public was the only way to ensure real fairness and prevent any backdoor dealings. And they weren't alone in that stance. Let's not forget that B's lead attorney has always stood firm on laying everything out in the open.
Justin Baldoni has built his brand and is known for supporting women, believing women. So why in this case should people not believe Blake Lively?
I'm not asking anyone to not believe anyone. I am more than willing to take every single text message that exists out there, lay them out, put them on a website for the world to see, have them see the truth and determine the truth for themselves.
No secrets, no shady maneuvers. But here's where things took a brutal turn. Judge Louis Lyman, the man presiding over this explosive case, did not hold back. Reports from inside the courtroom say he tore into Lively's attorneys right there on the spot. If Lively walked in thinking she was locked and loaded, ready to obliterate Baldwin in court that day, oh, Judge Lyman's scathing response must have shattered that confidence real quick. And guess what? It actually happened. Reports confirm that, right there in front of everyone. The judge, the attorneys, the entire courtroom, Blake Lively completely lost it. And when I say meltdown, I'm talking about a full-on breakdown. Witnesses say it was a wild sight. Her frustration boiled over, and even her own legal team looked visibly embarrassed by what went down that day. Lively and her squad strutted into court like they had some untouchable ace up their sleeve. Their energy? Pure confidence. They were ready to drop bombs, thinking they had the ultimate piece of evidence to end this case once and for all. But what they didn't know? Judge Lyman wasn't playing games. He took one look at their outrageous request and hit them with a brutal reality check. And here's the shocking part. Judge Lyman didn't just deny their motion, he went off. Reports say he legally called Lively's legal team stupid right there in the courtroom. Can you imagine?
Your lawyers are stupid. It's like he's like being nice here. He's like, your lawyers are really stupid.
A sitting judge so stunned by their demand that he straight up roasted them in front of everyone. But the humiliation didn't stop there. Oh no, it got worse. The judge then made a game-changing decision that's about to blow this case wide open. Ready for this? There's going to be a live audio feed of the next court hearing on Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Yep, that means the entire world will get a front row seat to Blake Lively's legal drama.
Justin Baldoni universe, a judge is allowing the internet to join court. Not entirely for the whole court case, but for this Thursday, we'll be sharing live audio, not video, just audio of what goes down.
Now, what does that mean for her and Ryan? Well, let's just say, this time there's nowhere to hide. No more PR stunts, no more damage control. Whatever happens in court, everyone's going to hear it raw and uncut. I don't know about you, but I cannot wait for Thursday. And something tells me neither can the rest of the world. Everything that happens in court? Oh, it's going straight to the internet. Unedited, uncensored, and undeniable. No PR spin, no carefully crafted statements, just raw, unfiltered facts blasting through those courtroom speakers for everyone to hear. Up until now, Blake Lively seemed to think she had the upper hand, throwing around demand after demand, pushing for ridiculous injunctions, and filing court subpoenas that had everyone raising their eyebrows. But here's the twist. She never saw the moment coming when everything would come crashing down around her and Ryan Reynolds. And well, that moment is now. Now, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, where does he really fit into this mess? Because let's be honest, he's been glued to Blake's side like her own shadow. Remember him smiling next to her at the SNL 50th anniversary special just a few weeks ago?
Who else? Who else has a question?
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Picture perfect, right? But here's the thing. Why does it seem like Ryan isn't just standing by Blake, but actually mirroring her every sketchy move? Still not convinced? Just watch this.
Blake Lively and her actor husband Ryan Reynolds want to keep their messages with seemingly their A-list friends out of the hands of the public.
Justin Baldoni is not paying his legal bills, which are hefty.
Turns out, Blake Lively isn't the only one allegedly working overtime to stall this entire legal process. Her husband? Right behind her, following her lead to the letter. Word is, Ryan isn't just supporting her, he's actively making moves to frustrate justice, doing exactly what she says, no questions asked. And guess what? That loyalty just backfired. Since Ryan Reynolds wants to play by Blake's rules, Justin Bald just made sure he's part of the legal battle too. That's right, another lawsuit, this time slapping Ryan Reynolds straight into the hot seat. Looks like it's his turn to join the queue of people facing serious legal heat.
Actor-director Justin Baldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds, seeking more than $400 million in damages, accusing them of defamation and extortion.
This entire legal storm traces back to late December when Blake Lively took a major step. She filed a report with the California Civil Rights Department, claiming she was suffering from severe emotional distress. And what triggered it? She accused Justin Bald and several of her co-stars of sexual harassment, while also alleging that they were secretly working with B's production company to smear her reputation.
There was a feud between the two, and that they positively hated one another because they were promoting this film and these articles started leaking, really initially not in Justin's favor at first, basically saying that he had been inappropriate on TMZ, saying that he asked her about her weight and because he had to lift her for a scene.
According to reports, Lively laid down a strict set of demands during a high-stakes meeting with all the involved parties. She wanted guarantees that she could work in a safe and professional environment. Some of those demands? No more explicit videos or images of women being shown in her presence. No more graphic discussions about sexual conquests on set. No more inappropriate mentions of cast and crew members' genitalia. No more unnecessary comments about her weight. And most importantly, no one was ever to bring up her late father again. But here's where things took a turn. Despite these serious concerns, that wasn't when Lively decided to hit Bald with a lawsuit. No, that only came after Baldwin sued the New York Times for publishing details about her complaint.
A couple weeks ago, you guys might remember on New Year's Day, there were 2 lawsuits that were filed. Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, claiming harassment took place by Baldoni against her on the set of It Ends With Us, and that an orchestrated smear campaign took place behind the scenes with his PR team. And they had these text messages, and then a little bit before that lawsuit was filed, there was this explosive piece in the New York Times with this very dramatic headline from the publicist saying, "We can bury anyone."
That's when Blake's legal team fired back, accusing Bald of retaliating against her simply because she dared to speak up about the harassment and misconduct she and other cast and crew members allegedly endured on set. And if you thought Ryan Reynolds was sitting this one out, think again. Reports confirm that he was right there at the meeting, alongside Lively, the co-stars, and key crew members. So, was he silently supporting her, or was he more involved than anyone realized? One thing's for sure. This case isn't just about Blake anymore. It's dragging everyone in. And just like that, the courtroom battle royale kicked off, Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively. And of course, Ryan Reynolds got dragged right into the chaos. What started as a high-stakes lawsuit quickly spiraled into pure courtroom warfare, with Blake and Ryan allegedly playing dirty to get the upper hand. Lively came in guns blazing, throwing out severe accusations and making one outrageous demand after another, turning the case into something far messier than it ever needed to be.
Lively obtained all of these text messages through subpoena. Okay, what's subpoena? You can only issue a subpoena if you have an open legal case. So you have to have a valid legal case. I can't just issue a subpoena to, the New York.
And speaking of outrageous, let's really break down just how wild Blake Lively's demands got. Because trust me, this one is insane. Her legal team actually requested 2.5 years worth of Justin Baldoni's phone records. And I'm not just talking about basic call logs. No, they wanted everything. Text messages? Check. Phone calls? Check. Doctor visits? Yes, really. And get this, GPS location tracking of his every single move for the past 2.5 years. Like, what? What exactly was Blake hoping to dig up with all that? Because at this point, it doesn't just look like legal strategy, it's starting to feel downright stalkerish. But here's where things get hilarious. Blake may have thought she had Justin cornered in court, but the judge? Oh, he wasn't having any of it. In fact, he shut it down immediately. Because seriously, who even makes demands like that? The FBI? Maybe Blake got confused and thought she was working a federal investigation instead of a Hollywood lawsuit. Just kidding. She never has. Blake Lively was clearly riding a full-blown Hollywood star power trip, thinking she could bend the courtroom to her will. But Judge Lyman? Oh, he shut that down real quick. His response? That's not how it works in my court. And just like that, Lively's over-the-top demands were struck down. Because let's be real, they were never going to fly. Now, let's call it what it is. Even if Blake's accusations against Justin Baldoni were true, which, according to reports, they weren't, the timeline of events completely exposes just how ridiculous her demands really were. The alleged smear campaigns? Those supposedly started in August 2024. So logically, if she wanted to request Baldoni's phone records, she'd ask for them starting from August 2024. Or at most, from the beginning of 2024 until today. But nope! Instead, she wanted every single detail of his personal life from 2.5 years back. Which means she wasn't just digging into the relevant time frame, she was all up in his business way before any of this even started. Imagine suing someone for defamation in 2024, and then demanding to know what kind of illness they had in 2023 or what they talked about with their dietitian. Like, what? How does any of that make sense? Honestly, it's almost embarrassing at this point. Blake Lively isn't even playing smart with these stunts. It's just disappointing. And it wasn't just the judge who thought her legal team was grasping at straws. He straight up told them their subpoena was overly intrusive and completely out of sync with her cause of action. And let's be real, that's just the legal way of saying, what is this nonsense? Wrap it up. Because let's be crystal clear, Lively and her team weren't asking for a reasonable set of documents to help prove her case. Oh no. They wanted full-scale government surveillance on Justin Baldoni's entire existence for the past 2.5 years. Now tell me, does that sound like justice? Or does it sound like someone who's desperate to control the narrative? Judge Lyman saw right through Blake Lively's courtroom antics, and trust me, it only went downhill from there. And why is it about to get way worse for her? Well, let's not forget about that live audio feed that's set to drop this coming Thursday. That's right. Blake's entire courtroom showdown will be broadcasted for the whole world to hear. No PR spin, no carefully crafted statements, just raw, unfiltered exposure. And let's just say, once people hear exactly what went down, there'll be no denying how delusional and unreasonable she really is. But let's talk about the best part of this entire legal mess, Blake's dramatic courtroom meltdown. Reports say that during the proceedings, she was visibly shaken. Her body tensed up, and she was whispering furiously to her lawyers, like someone watching their entire plan go up in flames. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Witnesses say she looked downright terrified, almost shaking in her seat, as if she knew her ridiculous subpoena request was about to be obliterated right in front of her eyes. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. When Judge Lyman hit her with that ruling, she was in absolute shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. But let's be real, it served her right. This entire case has been built on artful deception, and now the house of cards she stacked so carefully has come crashing down. But did Blake and her team accept their defeat? Oh no, they weren't about to let the world see them take an L. So what did they do? They went full damage control. Despite the humiliation of Judge Lyman's ruling, Blake and her team walked out of that courtroom with their heads held high, desperately trying to spin their loss into a twisted victory. And how did they do it? By running straight to the media. Blake pulled the oldest trick in the book. She flipped the narrative, making it seem like the court ruling wasn't a failure, but a planned move, like she wanted it to happen all along. Talk about a masterclass in manipulation. But here's the real question. How egotistical do you have to be to refuse to take your loss and just move on? Instead of owning up to what happened, she's doubling down on her own delusion. Blake Lively lives off her big, dirty ego. And instead of facing reality, she's out here twisting the truth to fit her own version of events. But let's be clear, no matter how hard she tries, the live audio feed is going to expose everything. And when it does, there's no spinning the truth anymore, and oh boy, it did happen. If you thought Blake Lively had hit rock bottom in this case, guess what? The courtroom drama just got even worse. Judge Lyman didn't just rule against her, he flipped the entire script, using her own words against her in court. And the result? Total humiliation. Lively's lawsuit came back to bite her in the worst way possible. The judge pointed out that she had contradicted herself so badly that her own legal arguments didn't even make sense. Can you imagine? She walked in thinking she had airtight demands, only to have them shredded apart with her own statements. And you'd think that in the middle of all this embarrassment, she'd at least have one person in her corner, her husband, her #1 supporter, the man who always had a quick-witted remark ready to defend her. Yes, Ryan Reynolds. But nope, where was he? Absolutely nowhere. The man went AWOL. No comforting words, no public statements, no Deadpool-level comebacks, nothing. It's like he just vanished into thin air. Ryan Reynolds, once Blake's ride or die, has fully ghosted. I mean, Casper the Friendly Ghost is looking more present than Ryan right now. Maybe he's off somewhere playing superhero again. Too busy in his own world to notice that his wife is getting absolutely cooked in court. Or maybe, just maybe, he saw the disaster unfolding and decided, nope, I'm out. And honestly, I don't blame him. If I were in his shoes, I'd probably do the same. But here's the real kicker. Even after getting dragged in court, you'd think Lively's legal team would finally put their brains to work and cut their losses. Nope. They just kept digging themselves into an even deeper hole. At this point, it's not even about winning anymore. It's just pure delusion. They just couldn't back down, even when it was clear they had already lost. And what's left of Blake Lively's dignity after all this? Practically nothing. Instead of accepting defeat and walking away with some level of grace, her legal team doubled down, filing even more subpoenas, just stacking them up like a house of cards, hoping one of them would stick. Honestly, it was beyond foolish. At this point, I wouldn't wish this legal team on my worst enemy. They're out here throwing around legal paperwork like confetti, hoping that if they just keep flinging enough nonsense at the judge, something, anything, might finally get approved. But oh, did they seriously underestimate Judge Lyman? He wasn't having it. Not for a second. And now, Blake Lively is learning her lessons the hard way. Lesson 1, don't let your ego get bigger than your head. Lesson 2, maybe don't hire lawyers who belong in a legal circus. And the most important lesson of all, Hollywood star power means nothing in a courtroom, especially in Judge Lyman's courtroom. It's painfully obvious now. Lively must have thought she could intimidate her way to a favorable ruling. Maybe she thought her name, her fame, and her A-list connections would be enough to bend the system in her favor. But guess what? The judge put her in her place, fast, and from here on out, it's only getting worse. After the absolute disgrace in court, there's nothing left for her to do. The world sees right through the nonsense, and the legal system isn't about to sit back and let her keep playing games. And let's not forget, the damage isn't just hers to bear. Her husband's reputation, also circling the drain. Lively seriously thought that her Hollywood fame extended to the legal world, that she and her team could just make outrageous demands for every tiny detail of Justin Bie's entire personal history. And when I say every detail, I mean everything. From who he called, to where he's been, and even what he eats. Like, seriously? At this point, it's not about justice, it's about control. But the world, the courts, they're done playing along with Blake's game. She didn't just want phone records. Oh no, Blake Lively wanted everything. Who Justin Baldoni saw, who he worked with, who he had personal meetings with, and even his live location at every single moment of his life for the past 2 years. Like, what? Let's be honest here. This was never about justice. It was never about fairness. Blake wasn't fighting for some moral victory. She was hunting for dirt. That's why she made such outrageous demands, acting like some rogue FBI agent on a top-secret mission. Because what other reason could there possibly be for her asking for emails from Wayfair, production studios, and Justin Bie's company from nearly 3 years ago? It just doesn't add up. It was a desperate move, and in the end, she failed, miserably. Instead of walking away with a big win, she left the courtroom with a side of public disgrace and a double serving of humiliation. But here's the real kicker. The judge did grant them something, just not what they were hoping for. Judge Lyman took a long, hard look at their ridiculous requests, sighed, and basically said, "All right, here's what I'll give you." And instead of the 2.5 years of records they demanded, he granted them 4 months, from August 2024 to December 2024. That's it. And honestly, the judge was being generous. He could have shut them down entirely. But no, he gave Lively and her team just enough rope to go digging without turning the courtroom into her personal surveillance operation. So what did she find after all that sniffing around? Nothing. Zero. Absolutely nothing. And you know what? That's exactly what happens when you try to abuse the legal system to push your own personal motives. Instead of exposing Justin Baldoni, she ended up exposing herself as desperate, vindictive, and completely out of her depth. In the end, when someone is as clean as Justin Baldoni, you can dig all you want, but you'll find nothing. But here's the thing. This case, it's no longer about him. The real story unfolding here is all about Blake Lively. Just when she thought she was in full control of the narrative, when she believed she could manipulate the public into seeing her as the victim, the truth came crashing down. And trust me, things just went from bad to disastrous for her. Why? Because of a leaked recording, one that nobody saw coming. The bombshell came straight from Ari Emanuel, the CEO of WME, also known as Endeavor Group Holdings, one of the most powerful figures in all of Hollywood. And what did this recording expose? The biggest Hollywood cover-up of the year. Turns out, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds weren't just innocent bystanders watching Justin Baldoni get blacklisted in Hollywood. Nope. They were at the very center of it. Not only did they know about it, they were the ones who orchestrated it. Shocking? Oh, we're just getting started. Now, for those wondering who exactly Ari Emanuel is, let's break it down. This guy is no small name. He runs WME, the most powerful talent agency in all of Hollywood. If someone has the power to make or break careers in the industry, it's him. And this leaked recording just proved that he was directly involved in Justin Baldoni's downfall. But here's where it gets crazy. In the recording, Ari admitted that he personally ensured Baldoni was fired. And why? Because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds demanded it. Can you believe that? This isn't just a case of Lively and Reynolds standing by while Baldoni was blacklisted. No, they were the ones pulling the strings. And honestly, this is the absolute height of it all. They played Hollywood's dirtiest game, but now they're the ones being exposed. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. As more parts of the leaked recording surfaced, the ugliness of this whole situation reached a new low. The almighty Ari Emanuel, CEO of WME, didn't just admit to blacklisting Justin Baldoni, he didn't even have the decency to call the man by his actual name. Instead, he mocked him, calling him baloney. Now, let's just take a second to process that. Imagine discovering that your own agent, the person meant to represent you, was not only responsible for getting you shut out of Hollywood, but was also mocking you behind your back. Which one is worse, the betrayal or the public humiliation? At this point, it's both. And with this revelation, Blake Lively's entire victim narrative completely shattered. The world now sees the truth. She and her beloved husband weren't just bystanders in Baldoni's career downfall. They were active participants. This is not speculation anymore. This is cold, hard proof. And the receipts? They're being pulled out from everywhere. Documents, recordings, industry insiders. Everything is stacking up against Lively, exposing her for what she really is. And here's where it gets even wilder. For years, there were rumors about Blake Lively's nasty behind-the-scenes behavior. But back then, people either brushed them off or didn't take them seriously enough. Well, guess what? Now there's no ignoring it. The truth is out in the open, and Blake, she has nowhere left to hide. And the final nail in the coffin? Ari Emanuel himself, in his own words, confessing that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were the ones who put him up to firing and blacklisting Justin Baldoni. At this point, it's not just a scandal, it's an all-out expose on Hollywood's darkest power plays. Well, isn't that convenient? The original recording of Ari Emanuel's bombshell confession? Mysteriously lost. But guess what? The truth has a way of coming out, and luckily for us, a sharp-witted journalist was in the room the day the podcast was recorded. And this wasn't just any journalist. This person had the foresight to secretly record the entire session. Now, what are the odds of that? Pretty slim, but honestly, thank goodness for this kind stranger, because if not for that recording, this whole thing would have been swept under the rug, just like countless other Hollywood scandals before it. This is how the industry operates. Cover-ups, backdoor deals, and powerful figures making inconvenient truths disappear. And no one knew that better than Blake Lively, because the moment this explosive revelation surfaced, she immediately went into full-blown damage control. Now, if there's one thing we've learned about Blake Lively, it's this. When she panics, she does exactly what every other elitist Hollywood star does. She calls in the big guns. And by that, I mean she called the CIA. Yes, you heard that right. The second news broke about Blake and Ryan's dirty dealings with Ari Emanuel, reports started swirling that Blake wasted no time in bringing in Nick Shapiro, former CIA Deputy Chief of Staff, to handle the crisis. That's right. Blake didn't just hire a PR specialist or a top-tier attorney. Nope. She went straight to an ex-CIA official. Because at this level of scandal, a basic PR cleanup wasn't going to cut it. Blake Lively wasn't about to let this scandal take her down without a fight. So what did she do? She hired Nick Shapiro, former CIA Deputy Chief of Staff, to handle her and Ryan Reynolds' PR crisis. Reports say that Shapiro was brought in to advise the Hollywood power couple on their next steps, guiding them through damage control strategy, crisis communications, and, let's be real, probably some serious behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Because at this point, this isn't just a legal battle anymore. This is a full-blown Hollywood cover-up. I mean, think about it. Why would two actors need a former CIA operative to clean up their mess? This isn't just some PR nightmare. This is powerful people trying to erase their mistakes before it destroys them. Now, let me give Blake and Ryan some credit. They picked the best of the best for the job. If you're looking for someone who can rewrite reality itself, Shapiro is your guy. The man has 2 decades of experience in crisis management. He worked with the CIA for 2 years. He's the ultimate damage control expert. And when I say he's the guy for this kind of situation, just take my word for it. I mean, let's not forget, this is the same guy who helped push the narrative that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Yep, you heard that right. The same man who was deep in the middle of one of the biggest political scandals in recent years. The guy who literally gaslit the entire world into thinking a real issue was just misinformation, is now handling PR strategy for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. At this point, what more is there to say? If that doesn't tell you everything about how serious this is, I don't know what will. Nothing about this situation feels normal anymore. Think about it. Why is a Hollywood actress hiring an ex-CIA agent for damage control? Why is a defamation and sexual harassment lawsuit turning into something that looks more like a government intelligence operation? Something isn't adding up here. At this point, it's crystal clear. Blake Lively has completely lost the plot. 1 minute, she's throwing childish tantrums in court, making ridiculous legal demands that no judge in their right mind would grant. The next minute, she's bringing in the big guns, a former high-ranking member of the White House's National Security Council, all because she's desperate to get the media off her back. But here's where it gets laughable. Let's not forget how this all started. Blake Lively claimed that Justin Baldoni ran a massive smear campaign against her. That was her entire argument. And now, she just hired one of the most notorious smear campaign professionals in modern history. Hypocrisy at its finest. Nick Shapiro's entire career has been built on shaping narratives, controlling media perception, and manipulating the public into believing whatever truth his clients want out there. His actual job at the CIA? Running top-tier smear campaigns to push their version of events while burying whatever real story was behind the scenes. And now, he's working hand-in-hand with Blake Lively, crafting a new narrative, one where she's the innocent victim, the poor Hollywood actress caught in a terrible situation, while the real bad guys are out to get her. At this point, Blake isn't even pretending to play fair anymore. She's done with the innocent act. Now, she's going all in on rewriting history itself. Instead of admitting that she has no case here and all parties will set the issues down to rest, Blake is hell-bent on proving nonsense to the world by bringing in top government-level propaganda BS. The thing is, Blake Lively knows she has nothing on Justin Baldoni. She's losing big time. And the next best thing she can do is attempt to mop up her already shattered reputation by trying to mar someone else's reputation. And by someone else, I mean Baldoni. The funny part about all of this? None of her ploys are working. Instead, more nasty information about her husband, and her group of Hollywood besties is surfacing. And boy, we are here for every single one of them. At the end of the day, the truth and clear facts are already out in the open. The leaked recording proves she and Ryan were behind Justin's blacklisting. The judge's ruling proves that her demands were unnecessary and didn't hold enough water. And now, the whole world is watching as Lively and her team fail to spin the revelations against Justin Baldoni. Stay tuned for more because this drama is far from over. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop your opinion in the comments section. What do you think about Blake Lively's legal disaster? Let's talk about it, because this is just getting started. Don't miss what's next.